Let's be real. When you hear about the end of the dollar, it almost sounds like a conspiracy headline. For decades, the US dollar has been the world's backbone. Oil priced in dollars. Trade settled in dollars. Central banks stocked with dollars. The greenback wasn't just currency, it was control. But look closer. That grip is slipping, and the cracks are showing. Right now, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, plus new members like Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE are openly pushing for de-dollarization, and they're not shy about it. In fact, just this week, international outlets reported that BRICS discussions in Moscow focused on accelerating alternatives to dollar settlement in energy and commodities. The headlines weren't buried. They were loud. Here's why this matters. Replacing the dollar outright is almost impossible in the short term. But reducing reliance on it? That's already happening. And the more you peel back the layers, the more XRP shows up in the conversation. Not as hype, but as a tool that solves the problem. Let's connect the dots. The current financial system runs on SWIFT, a network built decades ago. It works, but it's slow, expensive, and heavily monitored by the US. That last point is crucial. Washington can cut off access, freeze accounts, weaponize settlement, and BRICS knows it. That's why they want rails outside of America's reach. Now here's the kicker. BRICS doesn't have a single shared currency. They've floated ideas, a BRICS coin, gold backing, commodity baskets, but building a brand new reserve currency is messy. It takes decades of trust and deep capital markets. They don't have that yet. So what's the alternative? A neutral bridge, a digital settlement layer that doesn't belong to any one country, but connects them all. That's where XRP enters. In the last few weeks, financial press and blockchain analysts have confirmed pilots inside BRICS-aligned institutions. Features of the XRP ledger, like escrow, automated market makers, and most importantly, the new Credentials Amendment, are being tested for trade finance and cross-border settlement. This isn't some YouTube rumor mill. These are proofs of concept with real central bank engineers involved. And think about it. Credentials and compliance aren't sexy topics for retail, but they're exactly what regulators demand. A ML, KYC, audit trails. If BRICS wants to move trillions without triggering global panic, they need rails that regulators can't dismiss as shady. That's what Ripple has been quietly building for a decade. Now, let's be precise. Have any BRICS presidents come out and declared, "We're adopting XRP"? Number? Not yet. And that distinction matters. These are pilots, not proclamations. But momentum is building. The rails are being tested, and the timing couldn't be more uncanny. Why uncanny? Because Ripple just cleared its biggest hurdle, the SEC lawsuit. XRP is not a security. Exchanges are relisting, liquidity is returning. Ripple took its fine, swallowed it, and kept building. While other cryptos are still waiting for clarity, XRP already has it. So here's the setup. BRICS wants rails outside the dollar. Ripple has rails ready to go. And trillions are about to move. Now zoom out. Over the next 2 decades, $84 trillion in wealth will change hands globally. The largest transfer in history. Boomers to millennials. West to east. Old portfolios to new rails. The question is, where does that capital flow? Does it sit in outdated systems? Or does it ride the rails of faster, cheaper, neutral liquidity bridges? Even if XRP captures just a sliver of that transfer, say 1%, that's nearly $1 trillion in settlement volume. Not hype, just math. And the charts? They're already hinting at accumulation. Whales are positioning. Analysts are flagging short-term breakouts. But the bigger play isn't this week's candles. It's the structural shift happening in plain sight. Because history teaches us monetary power doesn't vanish overnight. It fades, then collapses. Slowly, then suddenly. The British pound once ruled global trade. Then, after 2 world wars, the dollar replaced it. Today, we're watching the same script unfold, except this time, the rails aren't another paper currency. They're digital. Imagine the headlines 2 years from now. BRICS completes major oil deal using blockchain settlement. Global trade flows bypass SWIFT. Dollar share of reserves drops below 50%. Those aren't sci-fi, they're logical next steps. And the rails tested today could easily become tomorrow's standard. So ask yourself, is XRP just another speculative coin? Or is it the bridge quietly being built for the post-dollar era? The signs are all here. Ripple survived the war. BRICS is preparing alternatives. Wealth is shifting generationally. And the infrastructure is being tested, not in the shadows, but in open pilot programs. And here's the real warning. When the moment comes, you won't get a press release 2 months early. You'll wake up, see a headline, and XRP's price will already have moved. Because that's how global transitions play out. Insiders position quietly. Then suddenly, the rest of the world wakes up to a new reality. So maybe the question isn't, could XRP replace the dollar? Maybe it's, when the dollar weakens, what bridge is already in place to carry the flow of trillions? Because in this setup, XRP doesn't need to be the new reserve currency. It just needs to be the bridge. And that might be the most powerful position of all. The end of the dollar as we know it? It's already in motion. The only real question is, are you positioned for what comes next? Or will you be left watching from the sidelines when history turns the page? Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.